Nothing changes instantaneously. In a gradually heating bathtub, you'd be boiled to death before you knew it. Our Father, who art in heaven. Seriously? What the actual fuck?
Welcome to Above the Garage.
You guys, I am so sorry. We are heartbroken for all of our friends out there who will have been so deeply hurt by this. We know it feels like a massive betrayal, because it actually was one this time. And we're as shocked as you are that the show would deliberately hurt so many of their loyal fans that cared so much about the show and stuck with it through the endless darkness for nearly a decade. The choice to inflict maximum emotional damage on such a large group of devoted fans that love their show so much is a choice we certainly can't comprehend. Especially after the extra cruelty of getting everyone's hopes up by marketing this season as a love letter to the fans. If only they'd been more specific about which fans were being purposefully excluded. Because even at our most pessimistic, and as many of you noticed, we had been feeling rather pessimistic since episode 7, but even then we still didn't have the heart to imagine they'd do what they did and assassinate the entire character of June Osborne, metaphorically speaking, of course, with 2 episodes left to the show. We were, of course, aware that Nick's death was a strong possibility, sadly, with how they were having people speak about him, but to have him murdered at the hands of June and her callously refusing to stop it, that was really many, many realms beyond what we thought the writers and producers would do to their faithful fans, and light years outside of the parameters of June's character in our minds. Clearly, we had June all wrong. I'm not even going to bother with the disclaimer I've been issuing since episode 7, because of course this conversation is going to be largely about Nick Blaine. He deserves so much better. In addition to Nick, the actor that played him, Max Minghella, deserved better. And being that he's an actual human being, that is the worst affront. After all he's done for the show, while he may not have brought the majority of fans on, I didn't know who he was when it started, but he certainly has kept most of them around until the end. In this group, we all would have left long ago if it were not for the light and hope of the Nick and June story, and specifically the way Max played Nick Blaine with such nuance and heart. As annoying as I find it that I even feel a need to repeat this, it was not his attractiveness that drew us in, no matter how much some people might want to reduce his performance and our judgment to that. OT is just as attractive as Max, so it obviously wasn't that at all. It was instead his quiet, stoic, kind, selfless, and loving portrayal of a man with a good heart in a bad place, something so unique we had not seen a male character on television played that way, and it drew so many of us in, and kept us around a show we otherwise would have left seasons ago. While we hoped he would eventually be rewarded for all he's done for the show, with a good storyline and more screen time finally, we firmly believed he would at the bare minimum be given a dignified and respectful exit, at the very least. Once again, how wrong we were. Instead, Max was given hardly any content in his final episode of the series, except for a few lines that were, of course, extraordinarily out of character and unfortunately, again, completely contrary to the entirety of the show that has gone before, and his performance over the years. Those lines were just some more desperate, last-second, unsuccessful gaslighting for the audience. And his character was given absolutely no dignity in death, or even a death scene. Why they were so intent on turning such a well-loved character into a character that was hated, I will never understand. But regardless, they failed spectacularly at that objective. Well, for Nick at least. Outside of the few lines he was forced to deliver that were out of character, Max stayed true to Nick's character from the pilot episode of the show all the way up until the end outside of that plane. Since the very first episode of the show, he's used the space between the spoken lines to paint Nick's character with his incredibly consistent body language and facial acting, the gentle and respectful way he treated everyone around him, and he maintained that all the way through to stepping onto that plane. He maintained it when he had to kill the Guardians earlier in the season, and all we could see on his face was how much it gutted him to have to kill anyone. By doing so, he showed that no matter what they tell you in interviews, Nick was not a big bad Gilead commander. A true Gilead-believing commander would be far too numb by now to take such a death so hard. No, in actuality, and against all odds, Nick maintained his humanity up until the end. June, on the other hand, even back in season 3, June somehow had the capacity to cruelly stare down Hannah's Martha Francis in hatred as she pulled the rope that ended her life. Never mind that she was just one more of the hundreds of dead bodies in the trail June left behind with her recklessness. All that Martha had ever done was love and take care of June's daughter and tried to help June see Hannah. And that's what she got for risking her life for June, similar to Nick. Lawrence called June transactional once, and that is certainly true, but this last act of letting her daughter's father die such a gruesome and unnecessary death is a whole new unforgivable low. For the record, we wouldn't have forgiven Nick if he'd done that to June either, because it's simply Unforgivable. As I've said before, until now we've tried very hard to remain on June's side, even as we watched her do many horrific things, like torturing of Matthew, aka Natalie, in season 3, purposefully emotionally driving her to her eventual death. Once she was in Canada, she outright raped Luke. If you think rape is too strong a word for that, please go watch that scene again, season 4, episode 7, at around 42 minutes, and imagine the gender swapped. If the woman had tried to get the man to stop, if the woman had been woken from her sleep and had her wrists pinned down so she couldn't participate, and if the woman had desperately said, wait, 8 times in an effort to get him to stop, before the man covered her mouth with his hand so she couldn't continue to object while he continued to please himself with her body, there would be no question that it was rape. And yet we've repeatedly forgiven her for violent act after violent act because she was a victim of Gilead, and we were told this was what victims of such violence sometimes do. But when it came time for her to give a similar grace to the man who devoted his life to loving her and keeping her safe and sane, she was too selfish to speak up, to say a single word to get his attention and save him back. She never deserved him, and as Aubrey pointed out in episode 7, almost all of the bad things we watched him have to do throughout the show were actually caused by her. Those Mayday Marthas in Chicago in season 4 that Nick was obviously working with, since he told them this wasn't about quote-unquote business, and they treated him as a familiar friend they were annoyed with, not a big bad Gilead commander they were scared of. Anyway, those Mayday Marthas could not have been more spot on when they told Nick, fuck June Osborne, a lot of brave women died trying to protect her. Everyone that helps her ends up on the fucking wall. You're better off without her. He would have been so much better off without her, and probably would have left Gilead if he'd fallen in love with a good woman that actually cared about him, instead of one who preferred him there in Gilead to bail her out of trouble and make out with when her husband wasn't around. This show loves its metaphors, and it has occurred to me that what June did to Nick felt a lot like a metaphor for what the show did to this fan base. Strung them along for 6 seasons, only to intentionally slaughter them in the end. In truth, we expected they wouldn't end the show with Nick and June together, though of course we hoped they would. We even expected they might kill Nick, especially after we learned that Daisy in the Testaments wasn't going to be their daughter Holly. If you haven't heard that yet, Elizabeth Moss explained in an interview that the Testaments is only going to follow one of her daughters, Hannah. Not actually that shocking, as she often acts like Hannah is her only daughter, and removing Holly/Nicole from that show, too, fully disappears Nick from everywhere, so they've now successfully wiped him clean off the planet. In addition, it makes it even feel cruel, now that she's killed Nick, that she's calling her daughter Holly instead of Nicole, so the child doesn't even have her father's name associated with her. Gotta hand it to them for their devotion to hurting this fan base as much as possible, taking things the fans asked for and twisting it into something to hurt them instead. Anyway, once we learned that Nick's daughter was no longer one of the stars of the Testaments, we immediately realized they might throw out the ending of the Testaments that proved Nick was alive 15 years in the future, and that he got to raise his grandchildren. We realize they might just throw that out the window too now if they wanted to be particularly cruel to a particular sector of their audience and leave them with absolutely nothing. And of course, as the season went on, we accepted that they did want to do that. We saw the writing on the wall throughout the season that they were trying to make the audience hate Nick. And even if we hadn't, they started doing heavy pre-damage control for this ending around episode 6 in constant interviews telling everyone what a Nazi monster Nick has been. Off-screen. Again, one of the most important rules of writing anything, and especially television, is show, don't tell. They should have shown the audience that over the years if that's really what they wanted to do. And at a bare minimum, they could have at least shown it this season. That part still baffles me. Nick stayed true to his character and didn't do anything without being cornered into doing it this whole season, and was heavily affected by what he did have to do. And every one of those corners he was painted into were painted by June. Even the Nick haters were defending him after episode 6. This is Gilead. What did you expect him to do? Realizing the quote-unquote betrayal they had thought would turn the fandom against Nick was nowhere near sufficient to do so, they then started using interview after interview with the showrunners and Elizabeth Moss to quadruple down and convince everyone, well then, he was obviously a monster off-screen. If you ever feel the gaslighting slipping in, you can listen to our discussion of Season 6, Episode 7 again to revisit a lot of the actual facts of Nick's story. And soon you'll have our meta episode after episode 10 for more evidence and receipts that were shown to us across the show's 6 seasons, disproving the interviews they've been conducting, trying to paint Nick as this big bad Gilead monster. He was never portrayed as a monster, and interview after interview assuring us he was one, off screen, after 6 years of painting him differently on screen, well, that just doesn't work. Show, don't tell. I've actually never seen a show have to resort to these measures before. Have you guys? Like, to have to use interview after interview to convince the audience that the character they were killing was terrible off screen?
Nope. It's pretty unique, I think.
Unique is a word.
Yeah, the interviews that have come out have been insane. I mean, I haven't read a lot of them because I just can't be bothered.
Same, yeah.
But I've seen, screenshots of particular quotes, and I just find it kind of ridiculous that they're trying to tell us that one thing happened that just hasn't, and you can't tell us that something's happened and not show us. If it had been shown that Nick's been bad previously, then fair enough. But we just haven't seen it.
Right.
We've seen Serena being bad. We've seen everything like for seasons. We don't need to be told.
Right.
With Nick, we've never seen that, and like I said, I'm like blown away how they've gone about doing this, because they just haven't had the time to show us that he's been bad this whole time. Like, there's plenty of screen time that they could have told us, and to have to explain to the audience in full detail about these things, trying to actually get us to quote unquote realize is not working, because it's not what we've seen. Like, you can't just tell us what we've seen when we haven't seen it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's telling us things we haven't seen, and also telling us things in a different way to what we have seen. Like, just rewriting the story and hoping people forget how it really went down.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of talked about this before, but I think, to me, the reasoning behind that seems to be that I think that they didn't want to lose everybody at the beginning of the season who had cared about this. I realize that they're changing it in the final season, but I feel like they're trying to have both. They're trying to have trying to string us along until the last possible second so that we stick with it.
Right.
And now they're trying to, because they've done that, the only way that they can land this ending is to force us to think that we were wrong this whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they didn't show any of it.
Yeah. I saw that interview with Max too that came out, and he said something like, maybe he's been playing Nick wrong this whole time.
Yeah.
Like, he's been playing it perfectly for what?
Perfectly.
He knew what was going to fucking happen.
Well, they had 5.5 seasons to tell him that, if that was the case, and to change.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to know when they decided that they were going this way with Nick, because I mean, at the end of final episode of season 5, it wasn't going that way, like even when we were talking to Bruce and stuff like that. I mean, Bruce wrote that episode, and he didn't write it Nick that way.
No.
So I'm very confused with how they've come about this.
Well, the showrunners changed, so Eric and Yellen took over the show this season, so it's possible that was the case. Yeah, it's hard to know when it changed, but it did change. Yeah, I have more on that Max thing in a minute too, but first I just wanted to read the definition of gaslighting, which is: gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation where someone distorts reality and denies facts to make another person question their own sanity, memory, or perceptions. So yeah, just like what you guys are saying. It's been wielded recklessly and largely unsuccessfully for the last half of the season, but it's disappointing that they've resorted to such a thing. And it sucks, because a lot of people have DM'd us, and they've said, look, thank you for your episode 7 discussion, because we felt I was feeling crazy.
Yeah. We got a lot of DMs.
I mean, I've even gone back and forth feeling crazy sometimes. Like, I know I'm not, but sometimes I'll be like, man, they're really doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on this. Like,
no, but it's just not supported by the show.
Yeah, but you feel like reality becomes distorted, because you're like, what even is real anymore?
Yeah.
Like, what is going
Gaslighting is effective. It is absolutely effective.
I just got to call something out before I forget. I saw something that I think it was Natalia, the director of, can't remember which episode, and it was a quote saying that Serena and June are the love story of this show. That really grossed me out, because
oh my god, it's so disgusting.
We've seen Serena being an absolute bastard over the past however many seasons. To be fair, I don't mind with how her story's going now, but the problem is that they're not. It's not a love story. It's a trauma bond. Like, people say that Nick and June have been a trauma bond, but Serena and June are a trauma bond.
Serena abused her directly.
Why are we hyping up the fact that Serena and June are the love story of this show? She was her abuser. She raped her. She held her down in season 2 and told Fred. It wasn't even Fred's idea.
No, it was her idea.
She told Fred to rape her at like 9 months pregnant.
Violently.
Like, why are we doing this? I'm okay with Serena trying to be a bit nicer by the end, but to do what they did to Nick and say that he's been the baddie this whole time, like, I don't like it, and I don't agree with it.
Well, I actually think that the Serena thing is the best cure for the gaslighting, for if it is seeping in. Like, all you have to do is remember that they're now saying that Serena is good, even though you have seen her violently rape June by choice, not ceremony, as well as slam her head into walls, lock her in a room for 2 weeks, marry her lover to a fucking child. You've seen all this stuff.
Emotionally abuse her, physically abuse her.
Yes. And you know that it is not an okay thing to tell you that this was a love story of the show. Like,
The message is absolutely disgusting. Like, it makes
that
me
to
feel
me,
like so sick to think that that's the message they want us to take away from this, that we're supposed to, you know, forgive and forget what our abusers have done to us and become friends with them, and just, it's not even forgiven. They can be redeemed, or whatever you want to call it. Like,
oh, it's so gross.
When people who have done nothing but love you and selflessly protect you and save your life, and like all this time,
they should die because they're evil.
Makes one little mistake, if you even want to say that, like, to again protect you, and like fuck them forever for that. Like, what in the world, man?
It's crazy.
When I read that, it actually made me even more mad than the Nick character assassination. Like, it made me even more angry.
Well, because it's real life people that they're fucking with now. There's real life people that have been raped and are being told, hey, you should be friends with your fucking rapist. Stop it.
Lovers with them even.
That is not okay.
No, it's not okay. It's gross.
Right.
I don't get it.
It's literally what makes me, if the gaslighting seeps in a little, that I'm like, wait, are we wrong about Nick? I'm like, no, wait, no. Because of the Serena. Like, I know that they think that Serena and June are the, what do they call it? Juliet and Juliet. It's not just Natalia at all. Like, she's just parroting something that the show itself has said.
Yeah, it's not her,
1,000 times in interviews. Yeah. And it's sickening to me.
Well, I mean, we also have, like, 1 million receipts from the actual show itself proving that this is not right anyway. Like, when we go back, I mean, like we did in episode 7, and like I'm sure we'll do in the episodes to come, that show who Nick really was and who they told us he was all this time, and then show who Serena really was and who they told us she was all this time, even as of the beginning of this season that we're watching right now. It's just
We probably had over like 100 messages from people after episode 7 on different platforms saying how much it meant to them to not feel alone and to not feel as crazy listening to us say the same things that, that they were thinking. But it's hard, again, because gaslighting is effective. Anyway, I just wanted to say, like, it helps us too that you guys DM us and say these things. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And it feels like such a community that's coming together, like, about this, because
I felt that last night.
We're all out on islands feeling like sad and alone, and then we realize, like, oh no, we're all out on islands feeling sad and alone, and we can be here together through it. So it's nice.
It's very meaningful.
Yeah, it is.
If nothing else that we get out of this, obviously we are best friends, but also to everybody else out there like us, like, we see you, we get it, and it's nice. Okay. I feel awful for Max Minghella, as OT went around calling Nick a Nazi in interview after interview for years, not just this year. Max only ever praised and spoke extremely respectfully of both OT and his character Luke, as well as the show as a whole. He deserved so much better in screen time, storylines, and his general treatment, but he remained a class act throughout it all. And then you referenced this briefly, but in an interview with Elle after episode 7, he admitted he didn't even know Nick contained the part of his personality that they were telling him to suddenly access in the final episodes. The cartoon villain. Nick absolutely did not contain that part, as anyone who watched the show can confirm. Max actually also said he felt bad that he had been playing Nick wrong all along. This is just further evidence of the completely nonsensical 180-degree plot twist from the actor himself. In Max's kind, politically correct way of saying it and blaming it on himself, rather than the inconsistent writing, the actor himself was playing a different part than the character they tried to introduce late in the final episodes of the final season, and that is absolutely not on Max.
It actually makes me believe now that they kind of decided this Nick twist in the writer's room during season 6. Because I feel like they wouldn't have been okay with how Max was playing Nick if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, if they had any clue what they were going to do all these years, they would have directed him to act otherwise. Actors act the way they're directed. Directors direct the way the writers and showrunners tell them to direct. So the blame for this inconsistent mess is not on the actor who made those people millions of dollars by playing Nick perfectly as a kind man with a good heart, devoted to supporting the female heroine of the show for 6 seasons.
Yeah, it's freaking heartbreaking to me.
He may not have pulled them in initially, but he maintained our watching the show, I think, for the largest part. Most of our group is watching because of that storyline, and largely the way he in particular portrayed Nick. So they knew that, and that's why they kept him around until the very last minute they could They didn't even kill him with any dignity, right?
No.
We all did, like, if they were going to kill him, we're like, all right, try to save Hannah, get killed, whatever.
Yeah,
Something like that in the process.
yeah.
Or even do something tiny, just something. Like
Yeah.
the fact that they both made him, like they gave him the dark Gilead turn,
Yeah.
the completely out of character Gilead turn at the end with a couple of lines.
Yeah.
And then had June kill him. Like, so he died in a completely useless way because
Right.
absolutely she had plenty of time to be like, hey, come over here, get off that plane.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He stood
made a point
there
of
for
that.
ages. He stood there
Yeah.
for ages. And you
Yes.
could, like, as this season has shown, we've seen Lawrence know that June's there with the vibe.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
must really smell.
Has known, yeah, she must smell it. Aunt Lydia knew that June was around. Nick for sure knew that she was around.
Yeah.
You could tell, like, the way he just stood there for a while and he thought
Yep.
about it and he was like, is June here? Like,
Oh,
could-
she's evil.
you could
She could have.
hear.
He literally almost turned all the way to the, like, we'll get into this, I know, but like
Yeah.
she had opportunities to stop him many
Yeah, he's
in
done
like
it
1,000
ages.
different ways. So they basically
Throw a rock at his head. I don't know.
they killed
Something.
every part of his character, including his actual life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they wiped him off the planet. Like, now his daughter's not going to be in the Testaments.
Right. And then they gave all of his original character traits to other characters like Lawrence and
Yeah.
Serena and even like Ava, like Phoebe being CIA, like shit that it feels like they're literally just like pushing it in our faces that it was not the character that we thought it was and that it's not
Yeah.
the character from the book.
I hate to say it, I really do, but how they've gone about all this is just so cruel. Telling everyone it's a love letter for the fans. Forget the fact that the largest part of your fandom loves Nick and June. Not just killing Nick, but having June choose not to stop it. Choosing not to let them even have a final conversation or any closure whatsoever after their first fight since she's been free. And then on top of all of that, if you try to tell yourself, well, they must not have understood how much this was going to hurt. Well, then you have Elizabeth Moss herself and the official Handmaids on Hulu account telling fans to video their reactions to the end of this episode. So they know very well how much it's going to affect everyone, and they actually want to watch fans suffer. I truly cannot wrap my head around that. My personal Instagram feed is full of happy videos of soldiers coming home and surprising their kids, the odd puppy on Christmas morning. I enjoy watching people be suddenly happy. To want to watch people be suddenly heartbroken just defies my comprehension. I'm glad we had suspicions it was going to be bad, so we decided not to video our reactions, but to be honest, you'd have just seen eye rolls at yet another show committing television suicide. It's not surprising at this point. We'd be more shocked if a show actually wrote a logical and consistent ending. I mean, why do showrunners place more value on shock value than good, consistent story writing? I will never understand. Time and again, it's rejected by fans because shocking turns at the end of a TV show, a long-running TV show especially, are not actually good writing. People are shocked when things don't make sense, but they don't want that in their entertainment. Is it really that much to ask for good, consistent story writing all the way through a whole show?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because especially with shows that have gone on for this many seasons, why do you think we're all here? Like, we're all here because we've watched it build towards something.
Yeah.
If you can sense where something is heading, that's not a bad thing. That means that everything was written in a cohesive way.
Right.
And if I can like see on the horizon what the ending is going to be,
Yeah.
I'm here because that's what I want to see happen.
Right.
I'm not here because I want you to like shock me. Oh, wait, no, actually.
Push me off the cliff.
Yeah, actually, we're facing east instead of west now. Like, what? Like, it doesn't make sense to. I feel like they don't want it to be predictable, obviously.
Yeah.
But predictable is why we're here because we
It's
have
just good
decided
writing.
that is, we're enjoying the journey
This journey, right.
because of where we see it's going.
Because we're heading to a specific destination.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not enjoying the journey to then be like jerked to the side. Like, that's
Right.
nobody wants that. It
Right.
doesn't make any freaking sense.
And fans reject it show after show after show that does this, and yet they keep.
Yeah,
But we'll always have Breaking Bad.
I know.
That's the only show I can think of that stuck the landing.
Well, and that's one where they did they kind of turned Walter, but it was like gradual. You
Gradual,
see
though,
it
yes.
happening, and it's part of the earlier stuff too. It's not like they just inserted this in the last
Yeah.
3 or 4 episodes. Like that was
Right.
part of his whole arc through the whole show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That show is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I know, and I will rewatch it, whereas I will never rewatch this.
Never. I can't.
Whereas, such as Game of Thrones, I will never watch that again.
Never.
I mean, I'll never be able to rewatch this because every scene you'll look at every scene differently now. And I don't
Right.
understand how they can think that we'd go back and watch
After what they did.
the earlier episodes and see hope there when there's none.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna go back and just watch people be raped for fun. Like, that's
Right. That's actually not why we were watching it.
nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to watch like horror and trauma. You watch that stuff because there's light in it, because you feel that there's
Yeah.
hope, that it's going somewhere hopeful. And you take out the
Yeah.
only thing that brought like joy to this, which was
Yeah.
Nick and June, and you ruin like love, basically.
Yeah. Well, and don't forget Lawrence's comedy,
And Lawrence's comedy. Yes.
Lawrence's comedic effect. Those were
Yes.
the two things that brought some kind of light to this very, very traumatic show.
Right.
Yeah.
But now the biggest part for us is dead.
We're never going to look at that relationship the same way again. If you
No.
go back and watch it again, you're not going to see it the same.
I
No.
mean, I'm not going to go back and watch it because I want to pay my time and money and attention to people that take care and care about
For sure.
me and the audience that's been loyal to them, right? So I'm not going to go back and watch it for that. But I do think that this is such a ludicrous ending that it's easily dismissed as too ludicrous to believe. So if
That's true.
somebody wanted to like compartmentalize seasons 1 through 4 versus 5 and 6, I think you could. I don't want to, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, and actually, I think you're right about that. I think I probably could do that, but I think the problem is that I see June, like I was standing by June, you guys, like even I feel like when most of our group was done with her.
We were trying hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was like defending her, turning myself into a pretzel to defend
Same,
her actions
same.
and defend her selfishness.
Yes.
And now I am just absolutely done with her. Like,
Right.
couldn't be more done with her. So I feel like it would be really hard for me to watch her in the earlier seasons
Right.
with that feeling. Like
Yeah.
not that I would ever want to. Like
can't
you're saying,
unlearn
but
that,
You
right.
can't go back and watch it and be like, you know, the things that I used to defend actually aren't that selfish because this. No, you know where she's going. You know that she actually never really loved him. So, you know, I just can't. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it seems like anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And even
that's what's written.
even last episode, I think I was watching, was it last episode or the one before? Like when Nick, quote unquote, betrays her, it even made me mad with her talking to Luke. Like I felt bad for Luke. Like the manipulation.
No, Luke could do a lot better. Still don't like Luke, but he should find somebody that is a good person that cares about him.
I felt like she was different with him after the Nick thing happened, and it was very manipulative the way she was like
she wanted her
speaking to
consolation
him.
prize. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I was like, you should go, like you said, you should go and find someone. That's not like
That's
just
not
because
love.
Nick now isn't in the picture. Like, oh
Right.
wow, I'm back to Luke. Like,
Oh, it's so gross.
no, that's not fair on him either.
This is another example to me of the ending ruining what came before it, though, because even that scene, I was trying to rationalize it. Like I was kind of saying, like, oh well, you know, this is just part of the back and forth of them, you know, moving apart, and I could convince myself that it would make sense if the ending made sense. But now that the ending
Yeah,
doesn't make
yeah,
sense,
yeah,
I look
yeah.
back on all the other stuff and I'm like, no, actually, she was actually just being selfish in that scene.
Yeah.
TV is such a freaking disappointment, you guys. I was trying to make a list of shows that had ended well, and so far all I have is Breaking Bad and The British Office.
Cobra Kai actually ended really well. I was watching it with my kids, and that was a love letter to the fans. Such a nice shout out to everyone and everything, and it was lovely. I know it's nowhere near the premiere television level of these shows, but
No, that's good.
still nice. I'm also still so grateful for all the many interviews we've done with the cast and crew. We've learned so much about the art of television production and the crazy amount of details and talent and hard work that goes into it, and we value all of that and those awesome people and their incredible details. I wish the plot had stayed on course and hadn't made it so hard to focus on anything else this final season, because I know all of your work was as amazing as ever, and we hope to see other shows you work on outside of this franchise.
Yeah, I mean, all the people on the show have done absolutely amazing. Like the directing, the cinematography especially has absolutely blown everything out of the water. I mean, everyone involved in this show that we've talked to has just been absolutely incredible.
Yep.
All the people behind the scenes that we met were so
Yeah.
like gracious to
Kind
us and kind
And talented.
took
Yeah.
their time to
Teach us and share the details about what they do. It was so rewarding for me and for us, I think.
Yep.
Very nice to meet everyone. All right, into the details of the episode.
So personally, I've decided to basically think Nick isn't even in this episode and the previous episodes. That's what I've been trying to do anyway, because obviously I've loved this show since the beginning, and there are aspects of this show that, besides Nick and June, that I very much enjoy, such as Lawrence. He is my favorite character. So this episode it's hard because, the Nick stuff really has ruined a lot of this show for me, and obviously everyone on this podcast and a lot of our listeners. But I've just tried to put that aside, as hard as that was, to enjoy the parts of the episode of the show that I have enjoyed for so long. But yeah, it's a difficult one, but I'm trying.
So here we go. Anyway, this is for you, Kimberly.
We love you, Kimberly.
All right, this episode opens with the song Look What You Made Me Do, which I do enjoy, as the women are all on their way out after killing the commanders, presumably. June and Phoebe, well, Ava, we learn in a moment, stay behind and see the trucks coming after them. As they start to run, a bunch of bombs go off, stopping the truck's progress. Bombs presumably Mayday planted.
I don't know why it made me laugh. Serena's literally running around with the baby hiding behind the tree, and she sees the handmaid stabbing. And I think there was it was the wife that she was stabbing, is that right?
I thought so, right?
Yeah, I think that that handmaid had just, I guess, stuck around to kill the wife too.
Yeah.
Or I don't really know why she was still there, but yeah, she was killing the wife in the yard. I did like that shot. I mean, of Serena behind the tree and then the kind of out of focus murder happening in the background.
Right.
Yes.
Inside the truck, June and Moira tell Janine they're going to stay in Gilead to keep fighting. Janine decides to stay too. After all, Charlotte is still here. Has everyone forgotten about her other child, Caleb? Is that another thing we're not supposed to remember? We know he died. June knows he died, but she lied to Janine and told her he was still happy and alive in California. So I think she'd be pretty obsessed with getting to him too. But it seems that she forgot about him entirely.
I suspect Janine realizes that was bullshit, because when I went back and watched that episode where June tells that to Janine, it seems like so fantastical or something, the way she's telling it.
Yeah.
Like it's just this perfect scenario where he's in this beautiful beach house.
Right.
And I guess I'm just wondering, now that Janine has sort of come out of her fog that she was in for many years, that she probably knows that was bullshit, and maybe even at the time kind of knew it, but just tricked herself into believing it because it was easier than facing it.
But she'd never mention him. Like she wouldn't just, you'd have to acknowledge it.
No, you're right about that for sure.
Maybe it's something again that they didn't show us.
Yes, I think it was probably something that happened off screen and has never been mentioned in the show that we were supposed to have taken into account for our analysis of the show.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's probably.
I do remember thinking in the rewatch of it though that I thought, I think maybe she kind of knows that this is bullshit. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, Serena goes to Lawrence's for safety, and Lawrence tells her and Naomi what's happening. Rebellion. I love Ever Carradine this season. She's just...
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're big Ever Carradine fans, and if anybody hasn't listened to our interview, our first interview that we did with actors on the show was with Ever Carradine and Stephen Kunken, and it was still probably one of the most fun interviews I've done with you guys and with anybody from the show.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yes.
It was so good. I love them.
They're a delight. And it's from several years ago, so it may have been overlooked, but it's a really fun time if anybody wants to check that out. Give them some love.
Oh, no, I miss Kunken.
And Stephen Kunken's answers to "Is Serena redeemable?" That was an absolute fuck no. I've always remembered that.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Oh.
He knows what's up.
I love him. Even more now that you remind me of that. Rose wakes a sedative-laden Nick asleep on his desk, telling him it's the baby and it's too soon, which made me laugh because by my math, she's been pregnant for like 15 months at this point. Seriously though, she looked 8 months pregnant at the season 5 finale, and then we had lots of things happen this season. A 2-month lapse is so crazy that she's supposedly like 5 months pregnant right now.
Her pregnancy, I think Megan was saying that she's been pregnant for longer than Holly's been alive.
Yeah.
It looks like it.
But she was pregnant in real life at the end, so that was nice.
And congratulations on her baby. It was very nice.
Carrie, he's adorable.
He's
very happy for them. Back with the handmaids, they've been found out, unfortunately, and the guy in charge is specifically looking for June Osborne. Dude's about to shoot another handmaid, so June admits to being June, tells him to check her ear tag.
Where the handmaids are like getting out of they're like standing in the line, and they finally take June away, and she says, "I love you" to like Janine and Moira, and then it just made me think like, man, she really has just thrown out some "I love yous" pretty easily to everyone except freaking Nick this season.
Yeah, no, it's true. That's how I think too at everything I see now.
She didn't say it once this entire season. Fucking bullshit.
Well, and then she killed him, so I think that tells us enough.
Yep.
But I will say I do love Janine and Moira so much. And I'm really glad that Moira and June, I don't know if they fully worked everything out exactly. I think they've been very honest though and talked this season. And just for Moira's
Yeah.
character herself, I'm so glad she's back and rebelling, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It was like pretty crappy in what, like the season 4 and season 5 especially, when Moira wasn't in it like basically at all.
Yeah, she was just so
Um,
different. She was like a
yeah,
babysitter and not her feisty, badass self. So
yeah,
it's great that she's
yeah.
back. And speaking of
Mhm.
feisty badasses, I also love Janine, obviously.
Janine has like this season probably been, apart from Lawrence, of course, has been the
Yeah.
highlight for me. I think like and Madeline Brewer has been absolutely fucking amazing.
She is amazing, and I'm actually watching her in You right now also, which I don't
Oh,
I don't like You all that much to be honest. It's more about like while I'm cleaning the kitchen thing, and mostly because Maddie is in it and she's
yeah.
amazing and I love her.
The only reason I wanted to catch up on the show was because I haven't even seen the last two. I've only seen like maybe the first 2 seasons of it. But when I heard that she was going to be on it, I was like, oh, maybe I'll catch
Yeah,
up.
exactly. Right. That's the whole reason that I'm even bothering at this point. And
Yeah,
she's great. But as Janine,
yeah,
I mean, this is just like such a perfect role for her. I
yes,
will always think of her with her red hair. And anyway, I did like the I love yous that they exchanged.
yeah. It's nice because we haven't really, obviously, in the first couple of seasons, we had those girls, their friendships, with the
Oh yeah, the
handmaids and
handmaids
things like that.
together. We missed that a lot.
Yeah, it was really missed, I think. Like it's a big part of
Right.
show, like even yeah. I mean, it's also part of why I love the show
Loved
to
the
begin
show.
with too, was because they had these, wonderful friendships in such a traumatic place that they could form these, really nice friendships together despite everything.
Right. Yeah, I think that was another thing that was missing so much, in season 5 and 6.
Yeah.
June
Mm-hmm.
wasn't with her handmaid friends,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and she's not all that likable with the people she surrounded herself with in season 5 and 6. But
Yeah.
back then she was. Back then she was. So it's either she changed
Yeah.
as a character, which obviously she has, if what happens in the end of this episode happens.
Yeah. It
Okay.
would have been nice, like in season 5 too, to have seen, because obviously most of Janine's scenes were with Aunt Lydia. Like we didn't really
Right.
see Janine with any of the other handmaids, apart from when Esther tried to poison her. But
Yeah.
yeah, and there was that cute scene where we saw Janine coming back, and you remember all the handmaids like wrapped around her and like hugged her and stuff.
Yeah, I did love that. Yeah. I think they made a huge mistake when they killed off Alma and Brianna. And once
Yeah,
again, this was
yeah,
a shock value kind of situation, I think, and it's not worth it.
yeah,
Those characters added a lot to the show, and then we were left with only Janine
yeah.
in Gilead. And
Well,
then
I asked her for about 5 seconds.
I was gonna say they added her, and then, where's she gone? She's disappeared. So
Yeah,
I think that was a big loss for the show as well. But anyway,
yeah,
I like the I love yous between the women here, and I'm glad that they were reunited for a little bit.
For sure.
yeah. It was very nice. I enjoyed it.
Naomi and Serena are fighting. I missed that. Naomi's telling Serena she has to reconcile with her husband. Same message Serena got from her mom back in season 3. And Morton is here because Naomi invited him. He promises to try for a child, just the two of them, no handmaid, and seems to convince her to give it a go. Josh Charles is so good at this role. He's so unique, and I
Yes,
just
very good.
think he crushed this role. Serena refuses to go deeper into Gilead, smart, and Wharton is heading to DC to meet with the High Council. He drops the bomb on Serena that they have June in custody, and she poisoned the cake at their wedding. He promises God's justice will be served.
Just another shout out to Adam Taylor's music, because when Wharton comes in, the music starts becoming very menacing, and you can just
Yeah.
gives you the vibe of who he really is, and I guess what's going to come from what we see later in the episode.
Yeah, Adam Taylor's music, one of the best parts of Handmaid.
The fact that Serena again is just like, I thought we were friends.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, fuck me.
Oh, this is the scene where she says that.
She's so like, I mean, that's the way they're going, right? And it is, but
Seems like it.
if you think about it logically, it's like delusional,
Yvonne is amazing, and we all love her. It's just most of us are able to separate her character from Yvonne,
I mean, that's what you should be able to do.
Yeah. Well, I love the character of Serena, right? But I know she's a complete cunt.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's other people out there who want her who think like I think people like I've said before, the writing for her character has been very good. So it's sometimes difficult to remember what in the past that she's done. But when you actually outline what she's done and you think about it, you're like, why the fuck am I feeling sorry for this person? I don't want to feel sorry for her. You shouldn't.
I'm done feeling sorry for her. In the past
absolutely
it
not.
has occasionally happened, but not anymore. She gets off like I don't even want to compare this ending to Game of Thrones because Game of Thrones I think is a bigger deal. Like I don't think this is a Game of Thrones level ending only
No.
because it's not a Game of Thrones level show. But it is
Yeah.
very similar. It is like they like took the Game of Thrones ending and
Run with it. Yeah.
Yeah, because like Nick, I don't even know which one is Daenerys, Nick or June, both of them really. Like they tried to make Nick a Daenerys kind of style sudden villain out of nowhere. Again, I reject that. I do not accept. But June turns and murders her baby's father for no good reason whatsoever, which is similar to what, how Daenerys turned in the end. And then the other thing is Cersei. Like the thing that drove me nuts about the finale of Game of Thrones is she got an easy ending. She just got crushed
She
in a building
did.
with somebody she loves, but we wanted her to have like get punished for what she's done because she's pure evil. Same thing.
Yeah.
We wanted Serena to be punished for what she's done. And maybe that happens in the next episode, but I'm seriously doubting it at this point, considering June says she's one of us now.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's like they took this, it's like they want the notoriety of Game of Thrones, and I don't think they're going to get it, but they just copied exactly the problems fans had with this episode and applied it to this, And it's crazy.
The only way I could see any type of Serena thing would be the similar type of thing to Lawrence where she dies in the end, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I think with what they're trying to do, that's probably their best way to do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. She deserves to be punished.
I don't want her to get any, if she does die at the end doing something good, I feel like she would seem too heroic or something. Like, I just don't.
That's why I'm saying I don't want that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying with what the writers clearly want to do, I think that would be the best way for them to get what they want. But I don't want that either. She deserves to be punished and pay for her actual sins of, an entire country of enslaved women.
She lost a finger.
Well, apparently, according to the writers, she was punished last season, but that wasn't really a punishment.
No, she was stuck in a house for a few days. And Aubrey, that's what they say in the first episode of this season. June defends her to the crowd, the mob that's trying to kill her, and says they took her finger. They took her finger, so it's all good.
Oh my gosh.
Justice has been served.
And the fact that at the time, I thought that was meant to be a comical line. Like, I thought that we were meant to be like, oh man, June is really, she's really stuck in this like trauma bond, whatever, with her right now. Hope she gets out of that before the end and realizes that Serena's still just as big of an asshole as she's always been.
She's continually chosen Gilead every fucking turn. And if you're telling me that just her giving up Wharton is her turning to the good side, please.
Yeah.
The guy that, like you said, she just met and was already questioning anyway.
Right. Okay. And then Wharton goes to visit June in her cell. She compliments him on his beautiful wedding. He lets her out of her little cage and pulls up a chair so they can have a chat. June figures it was Serena who figured her out. Wharton denies that, says Serena was stunned by June's betrayal. He wishes she'd waited while Serena improved Handmaid conditions. LOL, again, I cannot believe this is how we're supposed to think Serena's changed. She's not even trying to get rid of handmaids, except her own. Even that would not be enough to come close to redeeming her in slavery of a whole country of women. But it would be better than the fact that she just wants to make sure they don't go to the colonies or Jezebels once they've pumped out a few stolen babies. I can't with this whole storyline that she wants them to retire more happily.
Yeah, I'm stunned too with the fact that June actually thinks at first that Serena reported her, and yet she's still back and forth this whole season and had a sleepover with her a few days ago.
Right.
For a minute, she actually thinks, that's her initial thought, is that, oh, Serena reported me, makes sense.
Right.
Then a second later, she's like also not surprised when Wharton says Serena was surprised by her being reported. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's those two things don't make any sense together to me.
Right. Well, this whole season, June is like gone back and forth on lots of people. Like Lawrence, she was like, oh, I didn't know he was a Jezebel's guy. I'm like, yeah, of course he's not.
That was bullshit.
Right. And then she was like in the trunk with Moira. She's like, I don't know if we can trust him. And then she got out of the trunk and she was like, by the way, we're going to kill all the commanders next Saturday, 7:00, Jezebels. With the inconsistency. I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the sort of thing that you can go like, oh, that's an interesting character trait, but it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. So it just feels strange.
Well, and I think that she's supposed to be sold as this extremely loyal character that, like, with like Luke and Moira and etc. Like loyalty is like everything to her, but in fact she's actually very disloyal, and it's just very confusing.
Yeah.
But anyway, Wharton's offering June a chance to get right with God before she heads off to meet him. As a kindness to his wife, he can tell that Serena cares about June. June in turn pleads with him, "My God, Serena's God, is a God of love. Let me remind you of a quote from Serena this very season about her God." Serena said on the train, "Your children were not taken from you. They weren't stolen, they were saved. God hated America because America turned their back on God, and God took your country away. God blessed America." That doesn't sound like a very loving God.
Nope.
I don't think June and Serena have ever shared the same God.
No.
Yep. When June says to Wharton that you had killed that were trapped at Jezebel's, their blood is on your hands. So there's the evidence that she 100% knew that Nick had nothing to do with those women dying. And the only reason she has to know this is because Nick told her. So she still trusted him saying that, and yet she can't forgive him.
Yeah. It makes no sense that she can forgive from pretty much everyone else on the show besides him for this one little moment of whateverness. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
She's trying to convince Wharton to choose love, be a better man to Serena. That's like a whole other conversation though. But like when she can't forgive Nick for saying one thing under extreme threat to save his life and hers.
Yeah.
Like she thinks Wharton deserves a second chance, but not Nick.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Although I do think she's just trying to get out of also what's about to happen to her.
I mean, that's true. It's a manipulation thing she does with people, for sure.
Yeah, she manipulates a lot of people, and I think she's very much manipulating him here also.
I think so too, but just the wording, like choose love and be
Yeah.
a better man. It's like,
Yeah.
you're saying that to fucking Wharton, and you can't give Nick one tiny mistake after literally just saving everyone you love a few minutes ago. What?
Oh, I can't.
Yeah, I did love this scene. I thought the acting was amazing, especially from Josh Charles, and just the cinematography and just the set design as well. Like when she was in the box and
the cage, that was cool.
Yeah, the cage. Yeah, and I thought that was very cool. And I just thought it was a very well acted scene, and I was glad that we got to see Josh and Elizabeth in a scene together. Yeah. I was waiting for that, and I knew it wasn't going to happen. I knew Lizzie wouldn't allow them not to have a scene together.
Not have one?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I was glad that we finally got that.
I think he's doing a really good job of like, ever since we saw him get really angry in episode 6 where he's yelling at Nick, now he's back to kind of like the quiet,
menacing,
something is weird about him thing that he was doing in the first half of the season. But you now know that he's capable of that.
Right.
So of the anger and the extremity of it. So you can feel that so much under the surface of everything he's saying now, like to a 100 times degree than you did before.
Yeah.
And I think he's doing a great job of like doing that contained thing where you can still feel it under the surface.
Yeah, agreed.
I do find it interesting too how the show tends to, I mean, they've made many references to June being like to parallels between how June is acting and how Gilead is, like her quest for power and her, like Wharton says something in the scene about, well, you seem very powerful right now or whatever, when she talks about Gilead being just interested in power. I'm not really sure what they're trying to say with that because I don't feel like it's going anywhere, but I used to find that really interesting. So I don't know.
She is like Serena in that way now, and I don't like the Serena comparisons, but it's not a good way, really. She, in every scenario she steps into, even if she's the new person there, she wants to be the leader. She wants to be in charge of everybody and in power and telling everybody what to do, and she knows better than everybody else, you know?
Right.
I don't admire that about her.
No.
But it is something that she definitely does, and she's definitely let her ego take over at this point, in my opinion.
It would be interesting if there was some kind of resolution on that where she realized that what people were saying was right, but I just don't know if they're going to have time for that or bother with that.
No, we have one episode left. I don't think that she's going to have any self-discovery.
Self-awareness,
self-reflection.
self-reflection. Yeah, that's good.
Reflection. Thank you.
Wow, I came up with a word.
You did good.
Thank you.
Next scene is Lawrence. He's going to a meeting with the commanders locally. At first I thought it was a DC meeting, but...
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. There's a local meeting first, and Naomi and Charlotte are moving to a safer location. Lawrence is adorably worried about Charlotte's activities. Does Naomi have her paints, her paper, and then also the book he's reading to her? You can tell he's going to die later in this episode because he tells Naomi
Oh yeah.
that more than anything, this child wants to learn. And he gives Charlotte a very loving goodbye. And his final line to her, make some more pictures for me. Lots of colors as he holds back tears.
Fuck. Yeah.
Oh, no.
So this is a lot of why I wanted to do this episode because, as the listeners probably know, Lawrence is my fave, and although I'm mad at this show, this is one storyline I'm very happy to be with because he gets his ending that I wanted. You know, this is what I wanted. I for sure knew that he was going to die at some point.
Yeah.
And I always wanted it to be the way he went out in this episode. And I think being with Naomi, even though he found it extremely annoying, being with Charlotte has really changed his perspective, especially on everything, you know, just Gilead in general. And obviously Lawrence is what we know. He bloody created this place, helped create this place, not in a lot of the disgusting ways that we know of Gilead, but he helped. Like, I know this, and I've always given him.
I mean, he made the colonies. He planned the colonies.
Yes. And I'm very biased towards him. And it's partially the way that Bradley has played him. I don't think that he would be as loved character if he wasn't playing him.
No, I think it's entirely the way that Bradley's played him.
Yeah.
I think that's
for sure
the whole reason that you love his character. And
well, I mean, he's definitely not a good man, but I think as we've seen as the seasons have gone on, he's realized what he's done, you know.
It's nice that his character has had growth, you know?
Yes.
And changed in a more consistent way than, let's say, Serena, who just keeps going back to Gilead, you know?
Exactly.
Forever. He's wanted to improve it since Eleanor died. There is a little bit of power play, I think, with him and New Bethlehem and stuff, but...
Yeah, definitely.
And manipulation a bit.
Yeah. I do love his scenes with the child, though. I can certainly agree with that. And Naomi.
Well, and this is a character where they have actually injected these seeds for many, many seasons now. So you can feel the tension between him doing something good and trying to stay out of it.
Yes.
Right.
Or just trying to like hide away versus taking some action.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels logical because because they've been planting those seeds for so long.
Yeah. And the way that he says he loves her and then she says a little I love you back, like I couldn't do it. Like my whole heart just broke. I was just like, oh man, he's about to cock it.
I can guarantee that's all he's thinking about on the plane is her saying that.
Aww.
Oh, and that little actress is cute.
Mm-hmm.
That little actress has done very well. She's very cute.
The twins?
The twins, yeah.
Yes.
All right. Serena and Lawrence then have a moment. They hear the bells and know June's being hung right now. Neither of them are doing anything to stop it. Probably couldn't anyway, but they say a quick little prayer for her. I should think one of them would at least be willing to be there for her for support. But unfortunately not.
Yeah. I found it funny that in that moment, Lawrence was like, can they pray for her? Like, I feel like he's not there, but I think he genuinely obviously doesn't want June to die.
Yeah.
He's like, for one moment, he's just like, okay, God, maybe if you're actually up there, please do something to save this woman.
Also giving in to Serena's praying, which she's always fought, you know?
Yeah.
June, he'll do it. June walks out while we're still hearing Serena's prayer. We see the gallows are up again, and there's a crowd of all Econo people here to watch. Commander Wharton is here to host the hanging. Once he starts praying, we can see there are a lot more nooses than the one for June and the one for Ava, who's already in hers. As Wharton finishes his little verse, they walk Aunt Lydia out, and that perturbs June quite a bit. But probably not as much as when they open the truck door and bring out all the handmaids. Moira, Janine. The Econo people even are horrified at killing these sacred women. Janine is very helpful to the man putting her noose around her head, bowing it for him so it's easier to noose. Polite till the end. I don't know why I noticed that, but I did. Wharton gives Lydia the chance to atone before being hung. I mean, I don't think it's going to get her off the hook, but just to say her piece, and she starts off how you would expect. God forgive her precious girls, have mercy for what they've done, but then she finishes it beautifully as she raises her voice and screams, for they have been prisoners of wicked, godless men. I love Aunt Dowd. God, she crushed
She's
that.
great.
I know. Also, she's gorgeous in person. Well, on Zoom. Anyway, you should listen to our interview with her.
Lovely.
She's so lovely.
Yes.
We say that a lot, lovely. But I don't know how else to describe her. She was just lovely.
She was.
As Wharton starts talking again, we see Rita and Luke and a bunch of obviously undercover Econo people moving forward through the crowds. June wants her final word, so she makes it out like she's going to beg forgiveness too, but of course she finishes similarly to Aunt Lydia, screaming, "Don't let the bastards grind you down," as the noose raises her into the air. I don't know if you could actually scream in that scenario. I don't think you're vocal cords
Your
would
throat
work.
would
But...
probably be like, that's fast.
Yeah, exactly. It would just be like weird grunting. Mayday starts throwing grenades, snipers start picking off guardians, and it's general melee while June chokes and Moira lets the other handmaids free. Luke manages to steal a machine gun and use it. No way he wouldn't have accidentally shot some friendlies, by the way. That's hard even on video games not to do. I shoot friendlies all
That
the
is
time on video
hard.
games. Yeah, it is.
Especially on hardcore team deathmatch Call of Duty. It's very difficult.
And they're all dressed in similar, I mean, it's like gray and black, maybe. I forget. Anyway, everybody's dressed a little bit similarly, and there is no way he's using a machine gun in that crowd successfully without killing good people.
I also feel like
Yeah.
there's a shockingly small amount of like retaliation coming from the Guardians. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there is.
they're not
yeah.
really reacting much to this. Like,
Nobody, I don't think any Mayday people go down. They kill all the bad guys. Good guys, yay. And then the American planes come in. And where did the American planes come from? Didn't Tuello just tell us early in the season that there was no more American
Not-
military or
Yep.
government?
Maybe that's all that's left. I did very much enjoy Rita being a badass and shooting some people down.
Rita was awesome.
That was great. And also,
Well, Rita specifically saves June.
I love that they let her work the crane. That was the best, that they let
Yeah,
her be
yeah.
the one to go save
Right,
her.
Rita.
It was good.
That was my
Yeah.
favorite.
and Ava as well. I was like, damn.
Ava's like spin move when she came out was pretty funny.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, damn, okay, she's definitely an undercover bitch. She ain't shooting like that if she's not.
Darcy Carden, I said it before, but I think, I mean, Josh Charles and Darcy Carden, I think, were the two additions that I liked the most in this season.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've really liked Darcy's character, and
Yeah.
kind of wish we'd have more time with her. Like,
Yeah, she should have been on it all along.
yeah, it would have been great if she'd been in the whole season, actually, from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And working with Nick.
Ugh. Yes.
Well, yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah. Yeah, she was awesome.
It's just insane as well how they just willingly will kill all these handmaids when, like we've said before, like it's literally not even about, it's just about power, as they keep saying, you know? They're willingly gonna kill all these handmaids that are supposed to give them babies.
Yeah. One other thing about this scene, if I can like completely detach myself from my own body and just think about individual things in this episode, like Kimberly recommended that we all do, I do always like how the show gives contrast between Gilead using quotes from the Bible and then someone who actually has a personal belief system, like the way June was supposed to, using them to pray in a genuine way. I like the way that they've always shown the difference between Gilead religion and personal religion. And it's not about religion is bad. It's just about the way that Gilead uses it. So the contrast there has always been nice to me that they show that.
Yeah, right. I liked back when Nick was like, that's not what it says in the Bible. But then
Yeah.
obviously they abandoned that and he has no knowledge of the Bible any longer. But anyway, back with Serena, she's feeling and hearing the bombs and getting nervous right before Tuello comes in to save the day. He promises to take her to a safer place, as he always does, as he did back in the beginning of season 5 after June killed Fred.
I just like how Tuello comes in like an absolute boss. Like, I love Tuello, and he doesn't take his eyes off Serena. He sees her and he's like, oh yeah, she's still hot.
I know.
Like,
he's
like
still got that
I
attraction.
know we're not supposed to think that there's any sort of chemistry whatsoever between them, as what Bruce has said, but they play it like there is, It's always been that way, and the way he just looks at her, like, he's like, he still wants to bang that.
I don't want Serena to ever have nice things is my problem.
Oh no. Like, I don't think we're ever going to get
Yeah.
it because, as
He's
they
too good
said,
for her.
he's way too good for her. Like, did you see how he looked when he walked in?
Yeah.
He's been periodically a fucker in this season to me and in past seasons, but generally he's been a good character.
Yeah, I don't end this show liking Tuello, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love Sam, though.
Yeah.
He used to do these live things on Instagram, and I've never watched anyone else's live, and I sat there and watched him for like a half hour at a water park waiting for his pizza just because he's adorable. And then
That's amazing.
There was one other, and it's still on his Instagram, and I was showing Dave, I don't know why, but at the very end of it, these are the only two that I ever watched, and I only watched this one after the fact, but at the very end, Queen Elizabeth dies, and like somebody tells him that, and it's the most awkward ending ever.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think he's done a great job of playing this character, and it is a complex character.
Yeah.
And they've made it, again, this is another character that I feel they've built that way from the beginning because, season 4, going back, he's had seeds of like, who is he really looking out for? And like when he took away June's chance of doing anything or getting justice for Fred.
Right, he gave Fred immunity. Right.
Right. And it's like you can, again, one of the things that is good is when you start building that part of a character early on, and they've done that with him. And so nothing he's done in this season or in past seasons has seemed out of character to me. And
No, consistency.
it's interesting how you can like him and kind of still be a little bit like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I would trust you or really think that you're out for my benefit.
Right. Yeah. We just want the characters to make sense.
I'm on the Tuello bandwagon.
Yes, we know. Twello and Lawrence are your boys.
I've liked him more than not in the past. But there's a higher percentage of thinking he's doing good things than not. I
think last season really locked in the fact that I did enjoy him. I mean, season 4, yeah, whatever. But yeah, season 5 was like, oh, yeah, you know.
It's actually a good point. He might have been one of the only characters in season 5 that like I really was like, oh, I actually like what they're doing with him this season.
Right.
Yeah.
This is not really a sensible time to bring this up, but I'm really sad they never followed up with Esther Keyes or even like said a line about what's happened to her.
Honestly.
Oh.
Maybe they'll do it in the next episode, but
hey, you could just put a line in to explain it.
So sad.
Yeah, that's what they did to the Wheelers. They said, I forget what they said, but they did say something. And Esther, more than anybody, she deserved not to be forgotten. Like, literally just left her in that hospital bed, handcuffed, pregnant, screaming.
Yeah, and McKenna is so great. Like,
I love McKenna Grace. She's so nice.
Yeah,
and she's so good. She was so good in that role.
Yeah, what an amazing actress. And I feel like if we... I really doubt that they're going to bring her up now in episode 10.
At this point, yeah.
At this point, but I reckon, like, she deserved more, I think.
Acknowledgement.
And that could have been just because McKenna seems so freaking busy that...
For sure.
You know, she's got everything going on at the moment that maybe they just couldn't, you know, get her back, which I reckon she would have come back, I think, because of interviews. She loved it, you know?
She did, yeah. Our interview with her was really good too. And that was a while back. But she was actually filming something in Toronto. So I had held out hopes that she could at least hop over for a day or something.
Or like you said, could have just put a line in to explain in the event that they weren't able to get her, they could have at least done that to kind of give the character some closure or give the character some like dignity in the way they ended her story.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, did not.
She was a great part of season 5. I will amend my previous statement. I liked her character arc in season 5.
Yeah, she was fantastic. She was actress. Great. Yeah. Okay. Then we see Nick sitting in a chair by Rose's bed. God, the starkness of these Gilead hospital rooms drives me crazy. It's so surreal, and I just really hate it.
Oh, this reminds me though, when in the Josh Charles and or the Wharton and June scene, was that the same set? Did it look like the same place where they had Fred in the hospital in season 2 with the windows high up on the wall? It looked like the same location to me.
It was a similar vibe for sure.
But they have these two very different hospital settings, because they had that hospital setting in season 2 with Fred where it was like he was in a dungeon with like high windows, and then they have this like super white hospital setting that they use for like the women.
I wonder if it's because he's a commander and they see him as more important. I don't know.
More security in those rooms.
Yeah, more security maybe. Yeah.
Could be.
Rose tells Nick the baby's fine, but he needs to put an end to these people who tried to kill their baby, and specifically June. He never really says anything, but he sits there thinking and nodding at her with his little small sad nods. Oh, and we learn Wharton got away somehow. Wharton's still alive.
I just want to say that all of what we've said about Nick's character and what they've done to him, but they've really grossed me out with the scenes that he was in. He was in this scene, like basically no lines. And then we just see him again later on. And it's just like such a disservice to Max, especially with how much of a large character he has been since the very beginning, to end his character this way. It's awful.
It's awful.
Yeah, they didn't even give him like one really good scene or something to go out on. Like it was just, he has barely any lines. And the lines he does have to say are very out of character and make no sense.
Insane, ludicrous.
Yeah, out of character and blatantly not ever been shown in the show before. Yeah,
right.
So you're right. They don't give him any good final material to do. Even like that's depressing.
It is. It's really unfair considering, again, he's probably the biggest draw, and yet other characters that are not get like so much screen time.
Yeah,
and good storylines, and it's very illogical and very unfair.
I mean, he's good in the scenes he's in because he's doing his best in spite of what they're giving him.
Yeah.
But you can just feel how much he'd be able to do with really
Yeah.
juicy material like in the final episode. And it's unfortunate that they never let him do that.
And
Yeah.
outside of just the final episode, he would have been such a fantastic like rebel Mayday
Yep.
operative. And
The book character, the actual character.
the book character, he was Mayday in the book. And I feel like they are aware he would be great at that and didn't want him to do it for that reason. Whatever it is, they hate the people who love Nick. And I don't understand that because he was just a supplement to people loving June too, you know? He was just there to support her.
Yeah.
And he made people like her more because the way she acts around him, one of the only ways that she acts around anyone where she's softer and more tolerable and enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a good point because you see her through his eyes in some ways. Like, because he loves her and supports her, you see.
It makes you support her more, right?
Yeah.
Unrelated to her, Max deserved his own separate storyline. I don't even care if they said Nick and June are no more in some sort of logical fashion and he became a Mayday rebel anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like there are a million options they could have done that wasn't, let's kill him in the most undignified way.
Yeah.
Give him no screen time and no sensical lines so that he can even go out respectfully. It's so offensive what they did to Max Minghella. I just,
Yeah.
you grow to care about a character that you play for that long.
For like almost a decade. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure he would never say it, but I have a very hard time believing that he didn't feel very sad about what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he, you know, I still like mad respect for him for even through like that scene in the beginning of episode 7 and all of the Toby and Guardian scenes, like on his face is the Nick that we've always seen.
Yes.
Clearly not a monster who's become numb to Gilead because he's killed so many people. This is a kid who can hardly live with himself because he had to kill 2 people to save Luke and Moira, you know?
Yep.
And Max kept true to that character, and he is the reason that we don't turn on Nick. We just say, hey, writers, that doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
I mean, you can even see it in the scene that we're discussing right now. Like,
yes. And walking to the plane. Still there walking to the plane, too.
yeah, you can see his just dead inside look, his depression, his,
yeah,
you know, the uncomfortableness that he feels about all of this and the guilt and the responsibility and all of that, like, just comes into like a silent scene. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's always been brilliant in the show, and he finished it the same way. It's unfortunate he didn't get better material, but anyway. Then June's walking through the Mayday headquarters, it seems, looking for Tuello, not too interested in talking to Rita, who saved her, or Luke.
Yeah, and it seems like after the attempted hanging of June, another kind of inconsistency I feel is that they don't really show her being like injured from that. Like you would be fucked up.
Oh yeah.
After that.
I feel like you wouldn't be able to talk for a while.
Right. She doesn't have any, like, she's not like hoarse. She doesn't have any bruising. She just like is on with her life, the next day or something? It seems crazy.
Or like 5 minutes later or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and she was hanging from that crane for a minute. That wasn't like
oh yeah, she was
a couple seconds.
And she dropped.
Was like,
and don't forget, she dropped from a very high point.
That's right. She'd have a broken leg or something. Totally.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if she was already passed out, so your body would be like more like
limp.
You know, when they say like if you're drunk and you like fall off something, you've got more chance of surviving because your body's like, you know, like. Bleh.
I think about this in the car sometimes because I'm like trying not to be tense in case the car crashes, because apparently in a car crash,
that's almost impossible.
It's hard, but it's like it's what you're supposed to do. I think it would be very impossible unless you were asleep, maybe.
Oh yeah, like, oh wow, I'm about to crash. Oh my god, make my body into jelly. Like it's impossible.
She gets to Tuello. We learn Ava was CIA, and they want to finish off the extremist commanders. Lawrence can't be reached, but there's another asset across the street who might know something. Serena, of course. June gets excited. She misses her bestie. Gross. And of course, Serena is in a church. June goes to talk her into turning in her husband she's known for a week or two, and eventually Serena comes around.
Even in this scene, like, Serena initially obviously doesn't even want to give up Wharton, you know, and she's having until June like starts manipulating her like she always does with everyone. Like, she doesn't want to give him up. And, you know, she even says that it's not for June to decide.
Right.
That all these commanders are now dead.
No, she's still true to her character, and she's not, you know, one of us, as June says later, is such an absurd summary of what Serena's done here, which is hardly anything, and probably leaves her better off.
Yeah.
You know, gets rid of a problem she has.
Yeah, and Serena's such a flip flopper too because she gave up Fred, you know?
Yeah.
Like she realizes that this is the same type of man.
Right.
He may be even worse than fucking Fred, you know?
Right. I don't see Fred murdering a Jezebel's full of women, if not at least because he just wanted to go there. So
No.
hard to say
Yeah,
if he's better for that or not.
Yeah, I don't know if that's yeah, not really sure.
I just don't understand how she doesn't realize. I don't know. Just it's just crazy to me. I don't know what they're trying to do with Serena.
She's chosen Gilead every single time. Like with Tuello, he offered her
Yeah.
to leave when things were bad for her. She said, no, I choose Gilead. Oh, even after she does the nice thing and lets the baby Nicole Holly go, she immediately reverts and tries to bring Holly back to Gilead. Then when she leaves to spend more time with her, I think was the reason, and goes to Canada, she turns Fred in for that, but then she realizes she needs him, and she misses her power in Gilead, so she reverts back to Fred. And then Tuello is like, hey, you can be free in Canada if you want. And she's like, no, I'm going to go back to Gilead. And then she's on the train and she goes back to New Bethlehem. And then she marries fucking Wharton. Every season, multiple times, she says, I want Gilead, I want Gilead, I want Gilead, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, at least she's got a consistent character, but why the fuck are you telling us June's friends with her?
Yeah.
Right? Insane.
She's definitely one of the most consistently written characters where she's a absolute flip-flopper, but in reality she believes what she believes, and she might like to present that she believes a different way, but deep down she believes what she did in the beginning.
She believes the same thing.
Yeah.
She just wanted to manipulate her victim into being friends with her so she could like feel better, and she succeeded. Good work. Then Lawrence arrives to talk to June. He says he tried to talk them out of fire and brimstone with peace, but he failed and they're going to strike back. June says Serena is one of us now, which I've already said, and it's quite a stretch and quite infuriating after she gave them one very small piece of information. Tuello asks Lawrence to place a bomb on the plane. Funny when Lawrence says, have you met me? My comfort zone is minuscule. I like that. I feel that too. But Lawrence agrees because he's a big softie now. June says she'll be his getaway driver, which is completely insane and will only endanger the plan if anyone sees her, but she likes to be the center of attention, so here we go. She's riding with him in the front seat into the hangar. She even gets out of the car with him. He tells her he'll try not to fuck this up as he walks toward the plane, but his be right back turns out to be, unsurprisingly, inaccurate.
No. It's a little hard now when I don't like June all that much anymore, but when they were talking, it reminded me of so much why in season 3 that I loved their scenes together. You know, I really enjoyed those scenes where they were working together, and especially when they, you know, were making the plan for the women to get out on the plane and the kids and all that. And when she says, you know, she wants them to finally see it through together. Like, I did enjoy that. It's just takes me back a little bit to season 3. It's just hard now because June's annoying.
It's hard to see Lawrence. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not happy about the way they ended this with him, but it's hard to see him getting this like lovely little scene and then they're not giving Nick anything.
They didn't get any closure, Nick and June. That is so crazy.
Nothing.
Last scene...
They literally have not spoken since the road in in episode 7.
Yeah.
He's like shouting her name down the street and she's like, fuck you. And that's the end. It's the last time he saw her.
That's the end of their entire... Like, you did not give them a single conversation of closure. Insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lawrence is sweet.
Lawrence and June got a
moment. If we can separate ourselves. Yeah.
Which I cannot.
Yes. They got a nice moment together, which I enjoyed. Yes. You know, when he heads to the plane and she's like, courage looks good on you, Joseph. And he's like, I learned from the best. Oh, man. I don't know. They really did give them a good final scene together, and it's hard obviously because we didn't get the Nick and June scene that we wanted, but
or any scene with them to end.
Those two definitely got it.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I'm glad that they gave Bradley some good stuff to do in his final episode.
Oh yeah, they did.
Oh yeah.
It's great because also I remember last season in season 5, it was very, when Bradley was doing interviews, it was very easy to read between the lines that he wasn't enjoying where Lawrence was going in season 5.
Yeah.
And it's nice to know that they did give him, you know, the good stuff this season, and from what Bradley wanted Lawrence to become, I think.
Right. I think Bradley probably reps for his character like very hard, and I think that's great.
Yes, I do think so.
I think that Max is a different type of person, and Max probably didn't, but it shouldn't be on him. You know, he should be taken care of by the showrunners and the writers and the producers. And so I do not blame Max for that, but I am glad that Bradley probably talked them into a better direction for his character.
Yeah, well, it was extremely obvious that he wasn't happy with it. So,
Right.
yeah. And I'm glad that he spoke out about that because I wasn't happy with that either.
Yeah, same. Okay. Wharton and all the commanders have shown up early. They're making fun of Lawrence, telling him to stay here, giving him an out. But Wharton tells him to shut up, and he's pleased that Lawrence is joining them.
So, the plan initially was for him to plant the bomb right on the plane and then get the fuck out of there. That was the plan
Yeah, yeah.
before
So they shouldn't
all
have
of them
bothered with
showed up.
that goodbye.
Yes, yeah. So that's weird then, because obviously if the plan was to just place the bomb and then run back and then
Right. I mean, but there's got to be people hanging around this hangar getting the plane ready to take off and pilot and things. People seeing him do that. It's kind of a strange plan, but whatever. I wish it worked.
me too.
The fact that they're like standing there in the middle of the hangar having this conversation, and then a few minutes later, June can't alert Nick to the fact that he shouldn't get on this plane when clearly they weren't worried about that a few minutes ago, just openly having a conversation in the middle of the hangar.
But yeah,
Crazy.
yeah. Well, that happens a lot in this show. So
Yeah.
you just gotta roll with it.
But Wharton tells the other commanders to shut up, and he's pleased they're joining them. With one final question, Lawrence commits to being a martyr, a suicide bomber. And the best part of this whole episode, he turns to look at June and puts his hand on his heart as he holds back tears. He loves her. I know. He loves her. And then it gets on. I loved it. I love that. That
God.
moment
I cried.
with him.
I had a little tear. I got goosebumps. My poor man.
I wish we'd had more time, honestly, to like absorb it and think about it. I still love it. I will forever remember that moment. I love Bradley Whitford, and that was such a good moment.
It was definitely the best moment of the yeah. Bradley Whitford's gonna be missed in that last episode.
Oh yeah, and Nick, but yes.
And Nick obviously, but Nick didn't get any fucking lines this episode, so but also even Warren as well. He was such a good character this season, and he was such a strong screen presence.
Yeah, it's gonna be all women in the end. Yeah.
Very needed, I think he was this season.
I agree.
Yeah.
I liked the new big baddie.
All women in Luke.
Oh, fuck you. Okay. But we barely have a chance to even appreciate that moment with Lawrence before the next car pulls up, and unsurprisingly, with how much they've been trashing him in interviews all this season, Nick gets out. June has plenty of chance to stop him. He takes his time getting on the plane, even seems to censor there at one point, but she chooses instead to condemn him to death in a lazy cop-out escape of the love triangle. And that's when June disappears from my brain forever, similarly to how Nick disappeared in the closet at the end of episode 6. Heartless bitch.
Yeah, fuck. That's awful, eh? Like she's just watching him and like she's reacting like, oh fuck, this is bad, but she doesn't even fucking do nothing.
Oh, I can't. It's her baby's father, and it's how like every season he's like, I'm nothing.
Well, somebody she's claimed to love for all this time.
And he doesn't have anyone that loves him. I guess you could maybe say Rose does, but like he devoted his life to her, and she thinks he's a piece of trash or an ant she can stomp on. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you.
You know what's funny also, if that was Serena getting on that plane, she would have fucking shouted for her.
Oh
she
my
would have
God,
shouted
no.
for her. Think about it for a moment though. She would have.
Yeah.
She would have.
No question. She would have jumped through hoops to get to her. There's no question she would have like murdered everyone on the plane.
Absolutely. Yeah, she would have thrown a rock at the damn bitch's head.
Yeah.
Like that's how much she would have tried to get her off that damn plane.
No way she would ever let her get on that plane. It's so fucked up.
Now, this is the worst fucking scene ever, but whatever.
Wait, before the worst fucking scene ever, Max is walking up to the plane, and I just wanted to say he's still representing Nick the same way he always has. Like facial expressions, miserable and alone and having to do something he doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
Even in just getting on the plane. But obviously Wharton and Rose are making him go get on the plane, but you can still see Nick in his face.
Oh, yeah.
He kept it on long as he possibly could. Now the worst scene ever.
Yeah. I will say that scene, only good thing about that scene was the music. Adam Taylor is awesome. Like the music was just incredible.
Yeah.
And the way they even shot it of him walking, like I don't like what he's walking into, but the way that it was shot was very nice.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Lawrence is clearly sad to see him there. Also seems to realize June let him get on the plane as he's looking out the window. And the commanders, of course, are happy to see Nick. But Nick's lines are just so ridiculous.
Blah, blah.
Two of Nick's final lines of the show were so out of character that they were easily dismissed as absurd.
Ugh.
Guess you decided to join the winners.
Ugh.
Yeah, LOL. Totally something Nick, the sudden villain of 20 seconds, would say. Nick would
Bro.
never, ever say that. It actually
Ugh.
sounds like something that could only come right out of Commander Bell's mouth. It's so ridiculous.
So bad.
And then there was, she told me to give this all up many times. LOL again, because the audience has been complaining since June got out in season 4 that it made no sense she never asked him to leave. But she didn't, seemingly because she selfishly wanted to keep both Luke and Nick to string them along grossly. The one and only time she asked Nick in 509, the writers had just impregnated Rose to make sure he couldn't go anywhere. Nick, however, did arrange passports for them both to leave and tried to get her to do so mere days ago in the show universe. And yet now he's saying he'd never give all this, quote unquote, all this up, which, like, just the all this also I could go off on a whole fucking tangent about, but whatever.
Yep.
Just make it fucking make sense, please. Not to mention, even if it were true, it didn't make any sense for him to say that to sentence to Lawrence at that time. Like, no sense at all.
No.
But he would say that right then.
And it's Lawrence. It's Lawrence of all people that he's talking to right now.
Right.
Lawrence, who repeatedly tried to get out of Gilead and couldn't anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
And so, but like also, and I don't want to go on a long tangent because I have to go somewhere right now.
Please do.
But the all caps, but the quote unquote all this, as if he's reaping the rewards of fucking Gilead and not married to someone that he obviously doesn't love, suffering every single fucking day in Gilead. Like, you never one time see him enjoying a single thing in Gilead. He goes to Jezebel's only to get those fucking letters for her, and it ruins his life. But not one moment of anything have you ever seen him enjoy Gilead. So saying all this is also just fucking absurd.
Yeah.
The last lines of Nick's entire character were basically like the 507 flashback of a season 1 Serena suddenly being nice to June. An alternate universe, I guess?
True. Very true.
I mean, the writers have the ability to say that Nick and June took off on a spaceship to Mars and lived happily ever after if they want to, but would we buy that? No. That's the same situation with these two lines. Gaslighting, gaslighting, gaslighting. We know the history of the 5 seasons that we've seen and analyzed far more closely than we should have, so we know it to be just that. It will probably work on some casual viewers, but it's so fucking disappointing that they resorted to this in such a previously prestigious show.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unforgivable. That is why the show is ruined to me. It is unforgivable.
So gross.
Yeah.
So gross.
Oh, I hate it.
yeah, it was so unbelievable that I think it was hard for us to even like I feel like I'm in an alternate universe or something. That
Exactly.
there's no possible way they would have ended the show like this.
Right.
Or they would be ending the show like this.
It's so surreal that it will never feel real. And my brain immediately like dismissed it as absurd. I mean, I'm still angry. Like, I was still angry at the writers for forcing it to do that. I was still angry at the writers for trying to hurt such a large component of the fandom like this, for trying to hurt Max like this, for not giving him any honor or respect that he should have earned by now. But like the actual storyline to me, I've hardly spent another thought on because it's so fucking stupid, right? I'm still upset at the writers and the producer. I'm still upset at the show for what it's done unnecessarily, but like the actual storyline is the most dismissible ever because of these 2 lines that are so out of character. Nobody would say those fucking lines right then, and certainly not Nick.
Yeah.
And certainly not to Lawrence either.
Right. All of it. It is just so ludicrous. I don't understand what has happened. I really, it's shocking to me.
Yeah. The only other thing I was going to say about this scene, literally Nick is on the plane asking if June's okay while she's outside the plane letting him die.
Oh, yeah.
How fucked up is that?
That's very fucked up. It's extremely... He's still asking in those last moments. Well, he doesn't know he's going to die. But...
Yeah, he still cares about her and he wants to make sure she's okay. And she's literally just being like, he's letting him die.
Yeah. Do you think that, it doesn't even really fucking matter, but when Nick asked Lawrence about his plans for new Bethy, and when Lawrence said someone better than I will, see them through, I wasn't sure because Nick kind of looked at him in that moment. I felt like Nick knew something was about to happen. I don't know. It kind of almost felt like he had a inkling that,
Yeah, I kept wondering if Lawrence was going to let something slip there. I don't know.
Yeah.
There'd be no reason for him to do that because he wasn't telling him to get off the plane or anything.
No.
But that is interesting. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I don't know. It was the whole, obviously I loved everything that happened with Lawrence, but it's also very difficult in that last moment. The shot was beautiful, by the way, of them 2 on the plane, but knowing what's about to happen and what just happened with Nick and the lines that he spewed out from the writers, it's hard to even enjoy some of that because It's just gross.
Mm-hmm.
It's gross.
Yeah, it's extremely distracting to the rest of the show when you do something so out of character.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I thought this was a good episode. Lawrence is my fave, and I love how they did that. It's just how they wrecked part of the show is just the way that Nick's character has ended. It's very difficult to get past that, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Completely agree.
If they had have just had Nick in with what Lawrence was doing, or in with what any of them were doing this episode, like you said, like they've placed Nick's character into like other parts of, you know, people's, you know, decisions in this episode of what we thought Nick would do. And I would have been happy with Nick dying in that moment with Lawrence if it was just for the fact that he would have done what we all know he would have done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If they had involved him in one tiny thing, like, you know, okay, they could have had a line about him like opening the border for people because he's on border security, like just something to show that he was doing something good before they kill him off.
Yeah.
Which is what we know he would have done. So it's just, it's very, doesn't feel right.
It does not feel right.
The other scenes disappear a lot around that because it's kind of what Kate was saying earlier too about Serena. Like once you have something that anchors realizing that this is bullshit, then you stop really caring about what else is going on.
Yeah. Trying so hard to make us turn against him when really we know that's not his character, and it's all the writing in which that they've trying to tell us when we don't believe a fucking second of it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And just how bad it makes June look in the process, you know?
Yeah, you know what's funny is even in that moment before you guys said like she had that time to
wave at him or whisper or...
I didn't even realize that. I didn't even think about that, and it just makes it so much worse.
So much worse. He literally almost turns all the way around and looks at her. Like if she had just moved, he would have seen her there.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
And that wouldn't have ruined the plan at all. Like it wouldn't have changed the fact that Lawrence got on the plane and was going to blow everybody up. Like that still would have gone ahead. Nobody knew Nick was there.
Yeah, it's just funny how they've unsuccessfully tried to ruin Nick's character for everyone to make it believable when it's really unbelievable, whereas they've actually made a lot of people dislike June, and I don't think that's definitely not the way they wouldn't have wanted it to go, and I don't think that's the way they thought people would react.
No, I don't think that's the intention at all, which is bizarre.
It's very bizarre.
All right, well, are we done with this shit?
Yeah. Yeah, fuck.
All right, friends, that's the end of a lot of things, including this discussion. Good luck out there in the world this week. We're sorry they did this to you. Kimberly, Aubrey, and I will be back next week with an episode 10 discussion, and then after that, we'll be releasing a meta episode, or perhaps we'll be broken into a few episodes, so that the rest of our group can discuss the end of the show as organized by topic, like feminism, character morals, etc. Kimberly and I will not be on that one, so next week will be it for us. Except we have an awesome interview with Bradley Whitford coming out this week. It's not depressing like this episode because it's Bradley Whitford, and he's hilarious and awesome, and also had a great story arc this season. But we understand if you just want nothing to do with Handmaids now, so it's up to you if you listen. As always, of course. That was a weird thing to say. We've decided to use this platform to continue our other TV shows, and we hope you stick around for those. We could use your support. As always, thank you for listening.
Bye.